Good morning. Today we're going to Munich, Germany, to an English garden. That's the painting that will be the result of our travels vicariously through the internet. So let me show you a quick little video. That's a pretty cool feature right there. That's from Google Earth Studio. Now let me show you the map. And that's where it is, Munich, Germany. And let me show you a slight little clip from the video that I used. There it is. And there's my reference photo right there. And from that I painted this watercolor scene, which I just think is beautiful. I hope you like it. And it's easier than you might think to do this. So I'll show you how I did it. And I have a poem from Andrew Marvell. I can't swear that I understand it completely, but it's called The Garden. And Andrew Marvell lived in the 1600s. So it's an old poem. An old poem, a new painting, and a new place that I would like to explore one day. The English Garden in Munich, Germany. Let's go there right now. Okay, let's get started with this one. Yes, this is from a place in Munich, Germany called English Garden. And as I mentioned in the intro, it looks like a beautiful place. I've never been there, of course. I would like to see Europe. I would like to see Germany because that's where my mother was born. My grandparents on my mother's side were born. My grandparents on my father's side were from, well, I don't know where they must have immigrated from someplace at one time, but I only know them from New York. That's as far back as it goes. I'm not really sure of the story there. But on my mother's side, I know that she immigrated when she was 3 years old. And my grandparents decided to leave Germany in 1927, I guess, is when they left. Well, it's when he left, my grandfather. I've mentioned this before. But I've never been there. Yeah, my mother left a year later. She had some kind of she was only 3 years old. She had some kind of a sickness. And so at that time you couldn't enter the United States with a sick person, a sick child. So my grandmother, my uncle, and my mother, well, my uncle was like 6 years old, I think, so my mother was 3. So my grandfather came over first. Anyway, I've never been there. I've never been here, to this place here. And so I didn't go to the town that they were born in, that they were from. They were born in a place called Velbert. Velbert. But it's hard to find something in Velbert unless it's individual photographs. I don't think the Street View guy went in Velbert, or maybe they didn't allow him. I don't know. Anyway, so this is from Munich. Munich, Germany. And it's called the English Garden. Do you know what comes to mind when I hear the words English Garden? Do you know that song by the Beatles called I Am the Walrus? I think John Lennon gets credit for this, although I think Paul McCartney and John Lennon both are credited with this. But the line says, sitting in an English garden, sitting in an English garden. hiding from the sun or something. If the sun don't come, you get a tan from standing in the English rain. That's the part I remember. Sitting in an English garden, something in the sun, hiding from the sun maybe. If the sun don't come, you get a tan from standing in the English rain. I don't know. John Lennon was an interesting writer. I loved his writing. Anyway, I have a poem today, but not by John Lennon. It's by Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell lived from 1621 to 1678. Wow. This is an old poem I have today. Have you heard that there's a star that exploded about 3,000 light years away? Have you heard this story? And the light from that star has been traveling toward us for the last 3,000 years, which means the star itself exploded. Wow, 3,000 years ago. That's a long time. But anyway, so the light has been traveling toward us for that many years, and now we should be able to see it soon. So I don't know how they know this. I mean, how do you know that light is on its way? I don't know. I don't know how they know that. I know people say they sent probes out there, and we've got telescopes, but telescopes can only see what the light has brought to them. Well, maybe you know. Maybe you can share that with me. Well, this is hopefully, it's going to turn out to be a very green picture. I want to just get the basic colors in here, and we will work on the details later, as always. So anyway, I was watching this video, as I showed you in the intro, of this walk. I like watching walking videos, because it's sort of like being able to visit a place without visiting it, and maybe even give myself an idea of where I'd like to go one day if I do visit it. So, trying to make some colors over here on the right side. Some very, very muted colors. Add a little bit of orange to the green. Then I'm going to add a little. Let's see, that's wet right there, but I think I want it to be wet right there. And create these backdrop of distant trees. And I can add some light later on. I mean, some dark later on. There. That's all I really want to do, just that right there. Yeah, so this is going to be our English garden in Munich, Germany. I hope it comes out the way I see it in my mind. I think we should mention that too. I think a lot of times when we paint pictures, we forget to use our imagination a little bit, or forget the joy of painting. I love that expression, and it's a way to remember that this is to have fun. This is to relax. This is to give somebody else some joy, because you're going to give this card to somebody else. Just trying to get that little tiny drops of color right there, so it looks like distant trees. And then of course we'll have our foreground colors here, and some of this lake that he's walking on. I couldn't find the name of the lake on Google Maps. Wasn't that cool, that little Google Studio thing that I found, where you can zoom into a place I think I'm going to try using that some more. Not right now, but in the future. Well, this is a very green picture. I love this picture because it's almost time. I know it's just the beginning of summer, but it's almost time to start doing Christmas or holiday cards. I know, it just seems impossible to believe that, but it is, because it takes, for me, if I'm going to do one card a day, and I have 40 people that I want to send cards to, that's going to be 40 days. So if I started now, right, getting close to the end of June, so it would be the beginning of August, well, that's not too bad. We could do a lot worse than that, but, and I don't know, do you do, I like to do autumn cards also, just a little bit. Just trying to get a little bit of an edge here, and that's almost dry over there, so I put a little bit of darkness over there. When you study the green colors in nature, you look at the trees. I keep wanting to do this for this video. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. Well, today's Sunday, so today I'm going to the beach. Today's the day. I know. So I'll do some painting at the beach. It's probably a few opportunities to get something done over there. I'll share it with you. I'm going to bring my paints and my camera, and we'll see what we get. Oh, that's not too bad right there. That looks alright. Okay. Just little pieces of... Maybe we can make the water a little bit bluer than it actually looks. The water doesn't look perfectly blue. It looks very green. But that's okay. I'm gonna take some artistic, what's the word? Artistic discretion, artistic license. That's the word. Artistic license. Put some blue in there. Well, blue and yellow. That's all green is, right? Green is blue and yellow. And then over here, a little bit darker over here. I just want to get some of these basic shapes in here from what I see in the reference photo. Yeah, we can always add some things here. And then, I've been waiting for that sky to dry. So what I want to do is I want to get some of this, maybe some of this bright yellow here. Kind of a mixture of yellow ochre and yellow. Just kind of get a few different shades of yellow, and then we'll add the green over it, just like that. In the world of acrylic paint, you have to do it the other way around. You have to put the dark colors first. Well, let me rephrase that. You don't have to. I prefer to. If I can think in terms of dark at the bottom, light at the top. It's kind of the way I do it with acrylics. With watercolor, I like to do light first and then dark. So that's what I'm doing here. It's funny, it has to be light, but it has to be darker than that stuff way in the background there. So just keep dabbing it in there. This looked like a beautiful place to walk when I was watching the video. There was a lot of people there too, not in the scene that I showed you, but in the scene like elsewhere in the video. It looked like a lot of people were in that garden. I don't blame them. And here's the thing. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Celebration, Florida, which is near Disney. In fact, I think it's a Disney property. It's a community. I'm not 100% sure, but I've been there. And I've walked around a lake there that looks very similar to the lake in this video. Alright, let's get some green over here. Some green mixed with orange. Maybe some green mixed with blue-green. Want this to come out here. We're going to go up here. And again, we'll do some of those yellows first. And we'll come back to it. The birds are waking up outside. The birds are waking up. The people are still asleep. Except for me. I'm an early guy. I'm an early guy. I wake up early. Just a lot of little areas around here. Some shade over here. Get some darker greens in there. So how you doing? How's your world? How's wherever you are? I love the comments when you leave comments. Thank you for leaving comments. I try to answer everybody. I feel like I've gotten to know some of you. I know you feel like you've gotten to know me. If there's anything we can do that's positive with social media, it's that. It's that very idea of getting to know each other. Getting to understand who we all are. And what I like is when people from other parts of the world meet with people from other parts of the world, and everybody sort of realizes that, oh my gosh, they're not that different than me. We're not that different from one another. We have the same worries. We have the same things we love. We have the same things that give us joy, the children, the flowers, our pets. We have the same things that break our hearts. The same things. I don't know why we let the politicians get in the way of us enjoying each other. I don't know why. It seems that way. Or maybe it's just us. Maybe it's not to be blamed on one group of people. Maybe I'm wrong with that assumption. A little bit of darkness over here. A couple of areas that are deeper. So there's a lot of sky showing through these trees over here. Whoops, look how green that is right there. That's too green. Let me use some white. I don't like using white with watercolor, but I think in this case it might help. I think it might help. Maybe white and yellow together. yellow to that. As long as I have that green over there, let me share it over here. And then we'll bring the darkness over here. All these little leaves that are sticking out. I watched a young lady on another art channel, and she was advising artists to imagine that they are new to the planet, they're aliens. And the reason she suggested that, which is a good suggestion if you can wrap your head around it, is because then you're going to look at the world as you see it and not as you know it, because an alien wouldn't know it. So you wouldn't see a million leaves, you would see a cluster of leaves, you know? It's a pretty good way of looking at it. I've always said to paint what you see and not what you know. And I've used that as a way to help people do portraits. It's kind of what I did in the beginning, was portraits. I always loved doing faces. I was a kid in class who would, when I was a little kid, would always be drawing the other kids. I didn't always get them. I didn't always get their likeness right, but that's what I was doing. Yeah. And of course I liked when the girls wanted me to paint them or draw them, because then I got to sit with the girls. And I wasn't popular in that way. No, I wasn't, and I'm glad I wasn't, you know. In a way, sometimes the things that you wish you were when you were younger, and you get older, you're glad that that didn't happen for you. I think that's probably true. Alright, let's get some more green in here. Keep some blue showing through. And this is going to be our English garden in Munich. And this is all water here. You can't tell it yet, but that's what that is. This is going to be all, well, this is grass right here. But we're going to get that water right there. That whole area. That whole area from there all the way through here, that's going to be the water. We'll just keep getting these trees in here, and then once it gets to a certain point, then I will stop and read you the poem from Andrew Marvell. Okay? So just a little area. I'm kind of working darks and lights at the same time here. So, which is kind of working. Trying to make a few little areas here where you can see through the trees, and there were some dark shadows in there. Go ahead and make this. It's a little bit too wet. Just a little bit. Right, do the same thing over here. I'll probably try and break it up a little bit with water after a while. And then of course down here is the water, so we have that reflection. And this is going to be reflected over here. There's some darker greens over here. Get them in there. And some down here. not trying to reproduce the photograph. It would take a long time. You could do it. I know a lot of people who do artwork that is so amazingly close to the reference photo. But I like things to look painterly. I like it to look like a painting when it's all done, you know. These little dots that represent all these leaves. All these leaves. Every single leaf. Think about this. Every single leaf is putting oxygen into the air. Every single leaf on Earth, even the leaves underwater, they're all putting oxygen into the air. Every single leaf is taking carbon dioxide out of the air and using it to live, just like we take oxygen out of the air in order to live. You find it? It's incredibly amazing. And yet oxygen is a gas and it's not alive. And yet it seems to have a way of balancing itself with nature that is alive. To me, my own opinion, that's evidence of God. I know there are people who don't believe in God, and I can't tell you anything other than what I've learned, but even if I didn't learn anything, I think I would say there has to be some kind of intelligent creator behind all of this. It just doesn't seem logical that we would have such a balanced system. We have a need for water, and yet there's no pump that takes the water from the ocean, removes the salt from it, and carries it to the mountains so that it can fall into the rivers and then go into the aquifers underground and above ground and provide life-giving water. There is no pump. There is no pump that does that. Not a pump anywhere. Unless you look at this amazing thing called evaporation. Yeah, we have a word for it. But how did that happen? I just think it's evidence of God. How is it possible that other fluids evaporate, but only rain comes down? Gasoline evaporates, but only rain comes down. Watercolors evaporate, and only the water comes down. Only the water. It gets carried in these beautiful, amazing things called clouds. It gets carried up into the atmosphere. And comes down to the ground. Can I add some more blue to the water? Whoa, that's green. That's not blue. That was a mistake right there. See? Not a happy accident either. That was an unhappy accident. I'm gonna get that blue to look blue. See what it is? I was using yellow on top of the blue, so it started looking green. I want this to be blue. I changed my mind about trying to copy the color in the photograph. I'm just going to make it green. I mean blue. Blue-green. Yeah, we'll get that. Keep some white in there. This right here has to be darker because it's reflecting the shadow of all these plants over here. So I will make it darker with blue and then add a little bit of yellow to it so it's got that green look. Because we have to have light coming in from here. Let me read the poem to you. I'm going to let this dry. I want to get this edge over here because, see, I think part of this that's going to be interesting is to have some of these trees reflecting into the water. Some of this dark. Okay, let's see. Get some dark right there coming in to the water. Some dark over here. And I think these little wisps of grass will be lighter. So I'm not stopping. I keep going. I want to read that poem to you. There'll be another tree trunk over here, sort of hidden in behind everything. There we go, a few more little vertical lines over here too. Some branches that reach out. I'm just not trying to, I'm trying to be very careful not to get carried away with some of these. But there's just so many shades of green. Right, let me get some of this light green over here. I think that's what I should do, and then I'll come back. Right now it looks it's starting to look like what I want it to look like. Do you think so? Do you really, really think so? Do you really, really think so? What is that from? Is that like a line from a movie or something? Do you really, really think so? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry I keep doing this. I just keep going. Let me add some branches here so that are coming out. Just some that are reaching out a little bit. You could be anywhere. This doesn't have to be Munich, but it is. Looks like a beautiful place. It's like a place I'd like to walk. I should walk more. I'm going to walk this weekend. I'm going to walk today. I am going to walk today. I'll walk down by the beach. So it's our very first time ever renting a whole house. Oh my gosh, what's that going to be like? What's it going to be like? It's going to be like, you know, when you were younger, when I was younger anyway, it was a time when I found myself, for lack of a better way to explain this, I found myself with a bunch of hippies. I did. Does that sound weird? But they were really nice people. I call them hippies because they had that hair and you know, they kind of had those headbands. This was in the early 70s. And one of those hippies was my cousin Richard. Yeah, he wasn't really a hippie, I don't think. He was, but I think at that time of his life, he was in his 30s. I was still in my teens. And I was hanging out with him, so he was an old guy to me. And he treated me really well. And he allowed me to stay in this house in Connecticut. And I never forgot it. He had some friends, and they all kind of lived in one house. That's what I mean by hippies. It was, I don't know if you call it a commune, but it was a nice experience. They had a dog. Somebody there had a dog, and the dog was an Afghan. You know, those long-haired dogs. Oh my gosh, it was a beautiful dog. I always told myself, when I get older, I'm going to get one of them. Well, I definitely got a dog when I got older, but I didn't get an Afghan. It's funny how you see things when you're younger and you say, when I get older, I'm gonna, and then you fill in the blank, right? When I get older. And now that I am older, I don't think I say that anymore. Maybe I should. Maybe that would add to the magic of being old. The magic of being old. Wait a minute. Does that sound like a title for something? We should make up a poem or a book or a little short story, The Magic of Being Old. Maybe that's what I'll call this video. Well, if I called it that, then you already know that, because you see this after it's done. But does that make sense with this picture? The magic of being old. Okay, let me get some more dark colors down here, reflecting in this water here. Gonna have to add some light, I think, to some of these areas. The only way to add light, the best way to add light, is to add darkness. In a painting, anyway. Not in the real world. In the real world, it's the other way around. The best way to add light is to turn on the light, right? Or to get rid of the shadow. Oh, that kind of looks nice. Right there. Kind of looks nice. I do want this to be brighter though. Let me add some more yellow down here. Let's get this green to look greener. Let's get this lawn right here to be green, green, green. I'm going to add a bunch of wet now just to accentuate some of the areas that I think should be more yellow, more lit by the sun. And then I'll let it dry. Then while it's drying, then I'll read the poem. Okay. It's a very green picture. That's what I wanted. I wanted a very super green picture. So I will probably, when that dries, I'll work with some of this. Get some of this light here by picking it up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let that do that, and I'll come back to it. And then one area over here that I want extra green. think what we should do is come back to this with maybe add some white using gouache. I might do that too. Let's get some of this blue again. Boy, I'm not getting to that poem very quickly, am I? We want this whole thing reflecting in the water here. Everything up there, it should be reflecting into this water here. And then there's the light should be there, and that blue sky should be down here. So just let me keep working on this and a little bit over here. Little areas of reflected light, the things that are being reflected into the water. This right here, this area. An English garden in Munich, Germany. I wonder if they have a German garden in London somewhere. We have a Japanese garden here in Ocala. It's pretty cool. It's interesting, isn't it? We like to have some place to go that feels like we have gone someplace. Maybe that's why there's an English garden in Germany. Maybe that's why a Japanese garden is here in Ocala, Florida. Because we like to feel like we go someplace. Well, I think that's one of the allures of paintings, is we feel like you've gone someplace. Some of these areas over here could be darker. I am just taking my time getting to that poem. I think I have to let some of this dry. And then I'll read the poem. The reason I have to let it dry is because I want the blue to be blue. I mean, I want the water to be blue. I want the water to be darker than the grass, so let's see if we can pull that off. And I like the idea that there's some darker leaves in the foreground here and some lighter leaves in the background. How's that look? It's coming together a little bit. Oh, I can't stop myself. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's see if that works. There's a little bit of blue right there. What we want to do is some of these reflections coming in here. These trees are reflecting way down into the water. Just spread it out a little bit. That helps. That helps a lot. Yeah. Alright, let's get this blue spread out a little bit more. So it looks blue greenish. Okay. Let's see if I can lift some of that with the brush. Yeah. It's working. Get this lighter. Just scrub it a little bit. Maybe I'll come back at it with the gouache, as I said. I've said this before. When you mix gouache with watercolor, it is a really great technique. However, don't ask me why, but if you're entering a contest and the rules are that you cannot have mixed media, then you can't do it. If it's got to be a watercolor painting, then it's got to be a watercolor painting. Yeah, you can't mix it. Like, I like to use pen and ink with some of them, which might not be a bad idea with this one. But they don't want you to do that. Well, the truth is, nobody really cares, but I'm just talking about in the context of a contest. The rules are the rules. So I think in the poem, I'm going to read it now. I think the poet is writing about the Garden of Eden, I think. His name, again, Andrew Marvell. All right, let's let this dry a little. Let's let it dry, and we'll come back at it with gouache, I think. We'll see. So the poem is called The Garden, and it's written by Andrew Marvell, and I'm going to read it to you. How vainly men themselves amaze to win the palm, the oak, or bays, and their uncessant labors see, crowned from some single herb or tree, whose short and narrow verged shade does prudently their toils upbraid, while all flowers and all trees do close to weave the garlands of repose. Fair quiet have I found thee here, and innocence thy sister dear. Mistaken long I sought you then, in busy companies of men. Your sacred plants, if here below, only among the plants will grow. Society is all but rude to this delicious solitude. No white nor red was ever seen, so amorous as this lovely green. Fond lovers, cruel as their flame, cut in these trees their mistress's name. Little, alas, they know or heed how far these beauties hers exceed. Fair trees, whereas ever your barks I wound, no name shall but your own be found. When we have run our passion's heat, love hither makes his best retreat. The gods that mortal beauty chase still in a tree did end their race. Apollo hunted Daphne so, only that she might laurel grow. And Pan did after Syrinx speed, not as a nymph, but for a reed. What wondrous life in this I led! Ripe apples drop about my head, the luscious clusters of the vine upon my mouth do crush their wine. The nectarine and curious peach into my hands themselves do reach, stumbling on melons as I pass, ensnared with flowers I fall on grass. Meanwhile the mind, from pleasure less, withdraws into its happiness. The mind, that ocean where each kind does straight its own resemblance find, yet it creates transcending these, far other worlds and other seas. annihilating all that's made, to a green thought in a green shade. Here at the fountain's sliding foot, or at some fruit tree's mossy root, casting the body's vest aside, my soul into the boughs does glide. There like a bird it sits and sings, then wets and combs its silver wings, until prepared for longer flight, waves in its plumes the various light. Such was that happy garden state, while man there walked without a mate, after a place so pure and sweet, what other help could yet be meet? But 'twas beyond a mortal's share to wander solitary there. Two paradises 'twere in one, to live in paradise alone. How well the skillful gardener drew of flowers and herbs this dial knew, where from above the milder sun does through a fragrant zodiac run. And as it works, the industrious bee computes in time as well as we. How could such sweet and wholesome hours be reckoned but with herbs and flowers? Andrew Marvell is the author. He lived from 1621 to 1678. Andrew Marvell, it says here, is the single most compelling embodiment of the change that came over English society and letters in the course of the 17th century. In an era that makes a better claim than most upon the familiar term transitional, Marvell wrote a varied array of exquisite lyrics that blend cavalier grace with metaphysical wit and complexity. That's a little over my head, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what I just read there. Okay, let's get back to the painting. Reading the poem got my eyes off of the painting, and I kind of like it as it is. Gee. So I was going to use some gouache, but now I'm thinking about that. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I just want to get some of this area a little less painted, a little whiter. Let me just take a clean brush and see if I can pick up some of that color and make it white. Let the paper shine through. See if I can get it white there. Or maybe light blue. Oh, it almost rhymed. I almost did a poem right there. Didn't I? What do you think? Did I have a happy poem? A happy accident poem? Did I speak a happy accident? See, now one thing that is happening that I don't like is when the paper starts to beat up. That's not a good thing. So, I know some of you told me, get different paper. Get different paper, Larry. Or Poppa, get different paper. I kind of like this paper. I'm going to get a little bit white here. Pull that across. Oh, that's working nicely. Yeah, get some more white over here. Little areas that tell you that this is water. So it's working out, but I think I need to do some over here too. Oh, that's working out nice. I think I like that. I think that's given the look of water right there. Yeah. What do you think? Whoa, this is nice. I like what it's doing there. Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, we learn as we do it, right? That's working out nice. There we go, a little bit of dark there. Now it's looking more like water. Let me get some over here. Look at how nice that looks. And I didn't need to use any extra paint. I'm just pulling the paint off of the paper to create that little bit of light. That is a nice effect. Definitely looking like water now. I'll do a little bit over here too. Get some of these green areas here. I know this isn't the water area, but I wanted this grass to be lighter than the water. Yeah, I'm basically lifting paint now. It's like I overdid it with the paint. Just a little. Just kind of almost erasing paint. And then grab some and pull it up. Put some leaves some grass blades up into the water. Just a little. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. I think we've got it done. Thank you for being patient with me while I took so long to read that poem. This right here might be a little too dark too. Maybe spread some of that around. Yeah, I think there's our English garden in Munich. There's our English garden in Munich. I think I'm going to fold it and call it done. A little bit of a mess right there. I could pick at it all day long and I probably wouldn't be any happier with it. So that's how you know when you're done. Well, I wanted the water to be a little bit bluer. Should I wait for it to dry and come back and put blue in there? Let me use the back of the card. Let me see if I can do that. Let me see if I can get it very thin. Just trying to thin it out. Just using the back of the card as my palette, and I'll have to smear it. Alright, I know. I said it was done, but I'm going to add a little bit of blue here. I just think I like the idea that the sky is reflecting in the water, and it really wasn't doing it. But now that I lightened it, it seems like it might be working. What do you think? That's enough, right? Alright, now I gotta spread this around so it doesn't dry looking like that. And then I'll be done. Here we go. Yeah, now that'll dry blue, I hope. Well, there we go. there we go. Well, I hope you like it. I'll fold it after I turn the camera off, but you can see it. Well, I can fold it now. There we go. It's still wet, but there it is folded. There's our card. There's the back. There's the front. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for watching, for subscribing, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.